Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. I'm still in the middle of my move, but I really do want to pump out other videos and broadcasts. And today, this is initially going to be sent out as a patron video. Today, what I want to talk about is communicating with your mantid, or communication with your guardian angel, however you want to look at it. It's communication with your higher self. In earlier videos that you can well reference, I talked about how when we entered this planetary environment here, this geographical arrangement that we ended up at, our soul was deconstructed. It was torn into pieces. And there's primarily three components of you. There's yourself, which is consciousness. There's your guardian angel, which is your higher energy self that is located in this universe. And there's another higher energy self that is associated with the soul receptacle in another pocket universe, which we refer to as the soul and the mantid primes. The terminology depends on your way of looking at these things. Some people find it easier to consider these things as mantids. These are based upon observation and close association with our physical senses within this body. They're invertebrates, the higher energy selves. Closest classification is of an invertebrate is an insect, so they appear to us to be something like a giant praying mantis. While my experiences have always been of the illusion that there's these big 7-foot tall creatures, my actual experiences, they're quite diminutive, being 4 feet high or 5 feet high maximum. They're like little kids in size and stature, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, they are whatever we want them to be. Personally, I like a religious portrayal of them, where they are winged human-like creatures. It's more personable for us to see, and so we call them guardian angels, because after all, they are guardians. They are guardians of us. And there's two types. Of these two types, they're both connected in ways that we cannot understand. They communicate with each other in ways that we cannot understand. So if you ask me how they do it, I have no clue. Just recognize that this higher energy self, you have to understand this higher energy self has a life. It's very different from yours. They have an understanding that's very different from yours. They do things in ways that are very different from the ways that you would do things. But all those things being said, they're all part of you. They all are part of you. They're part of you. Okay? Have you ever had an instance where you're trying to explain something to somebody and somebody just wants to jump in and say something? That's kind of what I feel the commander wants to do. Really. Right now. For whatever it's worth. No clear message though, so. just ignore that. Anyways, getting back to this description. So what I'm really talking about is fundamentally you communicating with your higher energy selves. Now, many of you who are watching this already do so and have been doing it all your life, not even realizing that's what you're doing, or other people have learned to pray. If you're Catholic, you pray to your guardian angel, or you ask for help from your guardian angel. All this stuff that you have acquired over the years is something that works for you. There's no set way of communicating to these other parts of you, these other creatures. But I want to lay some basic ground rules, some basic understandings for all of you to improve your communication and improve your relationship. Now, fundamentally, and the point of what I'm trying to make here in this particular video is that you cannot have a contentious relationship with your mantid or your guardian angel. You can't. You have to be very close to your higher energy self. If you ever want to start this reincarnation bullshit, you have to have good rapport. You have to communicate with your mantid, your guardian angel. You have to be able to do that. Which means that you need to vocalize things. Things that you think about are generally discarded as can be anything. We think all kinds of things going through our head. And with media and everything, that causes other things to go through our head. And generally, other entities, whether it's domain or the other entities, other species, pretty much discount thoughts that go through our heads. They discount them as being trivial. So for you to actually communicate, you have to vocalize aloud, just like affirmations. You have to say things out loud. And I suggest you do so in the privacy of your car, in the privacy of your bathroom while you're taking a shower, in the privacy of your bathroom when you're taking a shit and the fan is on making all kinds of racket. I suggest you do it when nobody else is around. And you speak clearly. You can whisper, I suppose. Whisper. But the best thing to do is to speak clearly. I also recommend that you address your mantid. Now, there are those that have a name for their mantid or their guardian angel. Okay? You can address it that way. Let's suppose you call your guardian angel Peter. You say, I wish to address my guardian angel Peter. And then you say whatever you want to do. If it's a mantid, you don't have a name for it. You say, I want to address my higher energy self that I associate with being a mantid. And at that point in time, you can give it a name if you haven't already. And you said, I wish to give it a name. Can you please tell me what you would like me to call you? And you should have an idea or a thought train pop into your head. Don't laugh. If you say that and suddenly you start picturing Powder Puff Toys, okay, or My Little Pony, or something like that, then you address it. Okay, this is addressed to my mantid who goes by the moniker My Little Pony, or however you want to do it. Okay? You're establishing a rapport. This is a formalized form of communication. You clear out the area, then you sit down and you say, I am going to talk to my higher energy self right now. And then whatever the name is and everything, and then that starts the transaction. When you're done, after you're talking, you say, thank you very much. I wish to close this conversation at this time. And that's it. So what you're doing is you're boxing in a set window of communication. It doesn't preclude any other things, but it makes it very, very clear to your higher energy self, which probably should know already, but hey, let's not take any chances, okay? Start of communication, end of communication. Just like on a radio transmitter, transmitting the old-fashioned way. Roger, 79er, over and out. Roger Wilco, that kind of nonsense, okay? You formalize the talk, you say what you have to say, and then you end the talk, okay? That's the basics for the communication, talking to your mantid. Now let's talk a little bit about what you need to say and how the communication works. It's different for everybody. And the reason for that is because there's no set quantum components. The quanta that's associated with my body, my physical body, differs from the quanta associated to yours or hers or theirs. It's all different. And the way the communication route is going is through through the swales connecting garbons. And they're always different. So whatever works for you, and there's no defined way. But for those of you who are new to this and you don't know, then here's my words of advice. They have the ability to talk to you. You can hear voices. Okay? If you talk to them in a voice, they will understand what you're saying because they're reading your mind when you're vocalizing it. They're not hearing what you're saying. They're translating your mind's organization when you're vocalizing. Okay? So think about that for a minute. But for practical purposes, you might as well consider them to be understanding you just like you're talking to them in the room. And that's a good thing. And they can talk back. The problem with talking back is it has to be clear, because talking back, you're going to interpret it in your head. How do you know it's not your head saying things and not the mantid saying things? You understand what I'm saying? How can you tell? And so you're going to have this period of doubt. I've talked to other people, and actually I had to work with them with the commander to say, I'm talking to you. You're hearing me. Why are you doubting? The commander's yelling at me. I'm like, Jesus, please. I'm going to transmit this information. So I transmitted this to this other follower. And the follower's like, okay, I know exactly what's going on. I expected them to be yelling. All right. Because when they're communicating to this person, he was actually kind of frustrated and kind of yelling. So I just said the same thing. I said, okay, do you understand now? Do you get the message now? So yeah, they can communicate to you in your head. Calm your mind and listen to what the thoughts are. You might be able to actually physically hear, depending upon your connection, depending upon your swales. Okay? You might actually be able to physically hear it, but don't count on it. That's not the only way. The easiest way for your higher energy selves to communicate to you is by squeezing your emotions or providing imagery and thoughts to you. Do you know, it's like this. You can have a book of Titanic, the book of the story Titanic, or you can have the video of Titanic. Okay? Both of them have pluses and minuses. Okay? The equivalent of this is the book is talking, you vocalizing and listening, while the movie is dimensional 3D glasses and visual things and sound and special effects and all kinds of stuff. It's a little bit different. And they prefer to communicate in the higher energy part there, the three-dimensional stuff. So you're going to get imagery. You say a question or you tell them something. And if you're going to ask them a question, you ask it as a question. You don't say, the light, things are green and trees are nice and it's raining outside, and then wait for an answer. You're not going to get an answer. You say, it's raining outside, trees are lush and green. Should I go outside? Please advise me. That's a question. Okay? So when you're talking to your mantid, you have to tell them, this is a question. I want you to answer it. Now, as time goes on and you're communicating, you don't need to do that. But if you're just beginning, you need to do that. Okay? Over time, the need to spell things out will drop off. And it'll be just like a married couple. Okay? The woman says, do you know? And the husband says, did it? And she says, yeah, but what about? And he says, did it? And then she says, yeah, but you didn't do it. And he says, I'm going to do it now. Let me get the mop. Okay? That's a married couple for you. That's what's going to start happening for you, okay? And you're going to want to do this, okay? Now, communication is really important. You're going to be asking all sorts of deep stuff. I would suggest, if you're starting off, keeping it basic and simple. This is how we communicate. This is the question I'm asking. This is this and this is that. Keep it simple. Over time, you can ask your higher self more detailed questions based upon your understanding. And if you don't understand things, ask for clarity. I have some followers. I call you guys followers. Are you really followers? Or are you just, we're all in the same boat together and we're all trying to figure things out? But for right now, I'm going to use the word followers because I can't think of another term. M&Mers? People think you're eating M&Ms all the time. I don't know. But anyways, there's some other people, and what they did, once they established rapport with their mantid, they started asking questions. How did they end up here in the prison? Explain to them what's going on from the point of view of their higher energy self. And they started getting answers. And they asked more answers. How did I learn this? And then they start telling them more stuff. And then how did this happen? They start telling them more stuff. And all of a sudden, this strange picture of their background starts showing up. You don't have to ask me to ask the commander. You just ask your mantid. And that's the way it works. Okay? Now, your guardian angel, your mantid, is going to be pretty kind at presenting it to you unless you have a very steady rapport and say, okay, I can handle it. Tell me the bad stuff. They will be kind when doing stuff to you. They're going to turn off some of the emotional triggers so that you can absorb the information. I advise you to follow your mantid's advice in that. If they say, if you feel like they're not giving it to you full blow, you say, okay, I understand that. Give it to me gently, but let me know. Okay? And you go through this process. You go through this procedure. Okay? And that's how you do it. Now, I want to talk a little bit here. I really don't want to be too long in the tooth here, but I want to talk a little bit about being friends with your mantids, being friends with your guardian angel. It's super important. You're going to be communicating to your mantid GP, your immediate guardian angel. You're not going to be communicating to the mantid prime. That's in another universe known as the Heaven Pocket universe. They're elsewhere. You're not going to be communicating. But your mantid can communicate to them. Also, Keep in mind your mantid is like a party line. There's old-fashioned phone lines where everybody can listen in when you're making a phone call. It's not exactly like that, okay? But it's similar to that. People could listen in. Other mantids could listen in. They generally don't, but they could. All right? Also recognize these other mantids have another life and another situation and another bunch of things going on. Okay? And you have to recognize that. So in all communication with the mantids, I strongly recommend, number one, you thank the mantids and do it often. Thank you, thank you, thank you for helping me out, and thank you for communicating with me. God, talk about electric shock on my ass. Thank them. And then you tell them that you appreciate everything and you know that they can't give you everything you ask for, but you want to work with them. Tell them that you realize that you and they are a part of one big thing and that you really want to work with them. You can be honest. You can say that you're planning on leaving this reincarnation situation and you want them to be with you, which you actually do. You want your mantid to be with you. And tell them that, ask them what you can do so that you can be with this other part of you. What can you do? How can you do it? How can you be together? What do you need to do? Ask them. They'll give you some direction. You might be surprised by the results of what you'll hear. Okay? Good and bad. Okay? Knowing, however, that mantids are part of a sort of like a crystalline-like structure. It's like this part of this conglomeration of other mantids, this energy structure. You're going to be asking it to follow you to join a different crystal structure, whether it's a matrix or a hive or stilted or whatever it may be. And you need to talk with the mantid to see if they're willing to do that with you. If they're not, you have to then make sure that the mantid is willing to assist you to joining another one without them. But my gut feeling is that they would be happy and joyous to accompany you in a new alignment with others forms. That's fact. That's fact. If they're not, I would be very surprised. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up for now. I just want to say thank you all for listening. I'm going to have more stuff coming out. Like I said, I'm still living in boxes. My life is really topsy-turvy. And in all lives, when things go topsy-turvy, relax with it, okay? My life is topsy-turvy right now because my affirmation campaigns are manifesting. And that means change. And change is always uncomfortable, people. So you're kind of living the discomfort with me right now, huh? Sure. And remember, people, no matter what the world seems to be going at the moment, you guys are on the right track. And I believe in you. I really do. I believe in you. Take care, people.
是一种蓝色的 人们才开始哀悼。讽刺的是空气很好，演奏在水里无声飘摇，没了情调，人们为三餐奔跑，一切的爱